Every once in a while, a horror movie comes along and goes completely under everyone's radar. In the 1970s, we got the legendary Texas Chainsaw Massacre. We got the legendary Exorcist, Halloween, opening the doors for so many horror films. But then in 1974, there's a small Canadian movie, Black Christmas. And man, does this movie need to be talked about more. So let's do that. Let's talk Black Christmas from 1974.
Covenant, calling Raven.
Payback time.
Come on! Come with me if you want to live. You just don't turn it off!
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema, where we talk movies of the past that you know and love. And today, guys, we are doing Black Christmas from 1974. I do apologize if I haven't got a lot more Christmas content out, but I just have not been in the Christmas spirit. I have not been feeling it this year. But I watched Black Christmas a few days ago, and it is one of my favorite horror films. I really love this movie. I think it's criminally underrated. This movie has some great atmosphere, some great characters, and we are going to get into all of it. So comment down below. Let me know what you think of Black Christmas. Do you like it? Don't you like it? Have you seen it? If you haven't seen it, go watch it, then come back and watch this review, and we'll have a good time talking about Black Christmas. So Black Christmas was released in 1974, directed by Bob Clark, and starring Olivia Hussey, Margot Kidder, John Saxon, and Keir Dullea. So during their Christmas break, a bunch of sorority girls are stalked by a stranger who calls himself Billy. So Black Christmas, guys, is just one of these films that needs a lot more eyes on it, a lot more attention on it. I mean, when we talk about the birth of the slasher, Halloween gets a lot of this credit, and rightly so. I'm not saying it doesn't deserve all the credit it gets, but Black Christmas is 4 years earlier, 1974, has a lot of the same tropes on the slasher genre, but there's a lot more of a psychological component to it that I just really like. I find this killer and Billy extremely interesting, and this is a very low budget movie, Canadian picture, and maybe that's why it's gone under the radar for so many years, but it's also developed the fan base, and it has gotten more eyes on it over the years. But this is usually never anybody's in their top 10 horror films of all time. It's in my top 10. I absolutely love this film. I think it deserves a lot more credit on being one of the first slasher flicks. And one thing Bob Clark really does well is gives us these quirky characters, but gives us characters that are not just stereotypes like, the princess and the jock and this person and that, the geek. They're real characters. There's people who feel real, who you'd feel like you'd know in every day of your life. One of our first victims we get is Claire, and she's really the real shy girl who hasn't made a lot of friends. She has a boyfriend, but she keeps to herself. So you get that, but she feels like a real character. And then we got like the alpha female, Margot Kidder's character, and Barb, you know what I mean? Who's very vulgar. Everyone seems to like. She can be a bit much at times. The party animal kind of girl, like that alpha female. You get this character of Miss Mac who runs the sorority house. I think she's just absolutely hilarious. And Bob Clark knows when to insert humor throughout this movie and when not to, which I think really makes the film work. Jess Bradford, played brilliantly by Olivia Hussey, I think is fantastic. And what Bob Clark does with this character is not only gives us a character who's smart and fights back, and she's got this really motherly way about her. She's this natural leader. When, things start falling apart, she can hold it together. But there's also something progressive in the narrative where she's gotten pregnant and she just wants to have an abortion. She doesn't want to marry her boyfriend, Peter. She's really not too sure about him. And he's also set up as like the fall guy for all these killings, right? And I like that how progressive this movie is for 1974 in doing that. Not only do we got Jess Bird fighting back against this killer, trying to protect everyone in this house, we got her dealing with this too. And that just adds a level of more tension. And we got good old John Saxon, who we know from Nightmare on Elm Street, and he plays Lieutenant Fuller in this. And I think he's just absolutely great in this film. A very stern detective who figures out what's really going on. And the way they really build the tension is when Claire gets killed by Billy, and they think she's just run off and she's missing. and they find a young girl who's been killed locally, you know, and they're all out looking for her, and they finally found her. And this just adds a level of tension to this film. And this is all happening during Christmas break. And then Bob Clark, being the director he knows when to add a lot of the humor in this film and when not to inject it. He puts it in the right spots, and that's just a lost art, it seems like. It seems like people just don't know where to put humor in these movies and when not to use it, when to use it. And I mean, our character of Miss Mac, when she's, you know, cracking jokes, she's doing quirky things, hiding the booze bottles all through the house. It's all done at appropriate times. But when they start ramping up the tension, things aren't funny no more. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to laugh at in this movie. But when the tension starts and the white knuckled tension, you know, the scares start coming up, it really works. And the atmosphere he creates, I think this movie has some of the greatest atmosphere, not just horror atmosphere, Christmas atmosphere. We start off with the girls having this Christmas party. And this is when we first see like the Billy point of view, like the Billy cam, which is creepy in itself. You know what I mean? Where you see him climbing all the way up, getting into the attic, then you see him going through the house and stuff. Just love all those shots. I love the way Bob Clark uses these crash zooms to tell the story. And when something's like, when the tension's really ramping up, he'll use a real slow zoom on Jess Bradford's face when she's on the phone calls, or when he's passing through when Billy phones him for the first time and is going through all the girls' faces and everything like that. It has brilliant camera work, and not to mention the classic eye shot with Billy when Jess Bradford finds her friend's dead and she looks over and just the crack of the door and there's Billy's eye. Just something about eyeballs, man. It's just creepy as hell. And he's whispering, don't tell them what we did, Agnes. Don't tell them. Please don't tell them. You know, whatever he's saying there, he's rambling off and everything. Just fantastic stuff. And what makes Billy work so well is we don't see him. We do not see this character. We see shadows of him. And the way that all the kills are set up, you know, when Claire sees something moving in her closet, it's just for a second you see Billy moving. Just a second.
Who is it?
Bang, he comes out of nowhere. Fantastic. But one of my favorite kills here is Barb's kill. It's so unsettling and so creepy. Margot Kidder sells it really well, where she's up asleep. Billy grabs this like glass unicorn, and you just see his eye and the shadow on his face a bit. And you don't know what to make of this guy. This guy is a complete freaking psychopath. The way he's like talking to himself, starts stabbing her. But what makes it really creepy is that Jess Bradford is outside while this is happening. Carolers are singing Christmas songs and all that kind of stuff. And what makes it creepy is this is all taking place at Christmas, where it's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year. And one of her best friends is just getting brutally and viciously murdered. And wow, just the way Bob Clark did this crafty scenes and the mood and atmosphere he injects is unbelievable. Our final act, Olivia Hussey really goes for it. There's some really good acting moments here she does right at the end, where she finally finds out that Billy's been in the attic the whole time, phoning them from inside the house, which predates even when a stranger calls. You know, Black Christmas doing something else first, and when she's yelling at the bottom of the stairs, you know what I mean? It's just an amazing performance.
Bill! Please answer me! Please answer me!
And Billy, our killer, is so interesting. I would say he's even more interesting than Michael Myers. Billy talks, for one thing. We don't see him, and that's why he works, like I said before. Even when right at the end of this movie, we still don't see him. You know, we see him grabbing Jess's hair, but we still don't really see him. We see shadows and shit like that, right? Which makes it work. You know, suggestion is just so powerful. You know what I mean? What we think we see and everything like that can be so powerful. And I just love this style of movie. There's times when he's on these phone calls that are so creepy, like he's almost like a little kid talking. Then other times he's talking really aggressive. He's really vulgar. And then other times, like, he'll be like, I'm going to kill you. Where it's almost like he's so put together. Like he's so, affirmative and he's so in control, and other times he's so disorientated and he's bouncing all over the place. You know what I mean? It's amazing voiceover work. It really is, and it's a really underrated character because it is a creepy character because you don't know what this dude is going to do next. Like, he's schizophrenic, gone. That we allude anyway. We have to imagine like he's a split personality or several personalities. And that's just terrifying. He's just a terrifying character. And leaving everything ambiguous. I love the ambiguous ending to this, where Peter takes the fall. They think they got it all figured out. Jess Bradford is laying in her bed, you know, sleeping away. And then we hear Billy talking and the phone starts ringing again. And it's like very ambiguous. They didn't catch the killer. What happens next? The credits roll. Beautiful. Just a beautiful, beautiful horror film, man. Absolutely love it. It doesn't necessarily have a score per se, but it has like screeches and hits and real eerie stuff going on. You know what I mean? It's very eerie, and you know, there's a piece that Peter plays on the piano that's very eerie that he plays for a recital or something like that at the conservatory. And I think that it's just some eerie music going on that really adds and builds the tension and the suspense. This movie is just a lesson in white knuckle tension and suspense, and you know, using that real Christmas atmosphere. And I love how they try to pass this movie off as if it's in Boston when you can tell this is Canada. You can tell it's 40 below outside. Their noses are freaking red, and the movie just feels cold. You know what I mean? It has that cold feeling, just like, because I'm Canadian, I live up here in Canada. The Black Christmas house is only like 45, 50 minutes away from me. It gets cold like that up here, and I just love visiting this movie every Christmas because of the atmosphere and because of the cold. You know what I mean? And it's just such a great movie, guys. Such a great movie. Honestly, it does not get much better than Black Christmas, man. This is just a fantastic film. One of my favorite horror films. So I'm going to give Black Christmas from 1974 a B+. But what about you guys? Let me know in the comments what you think of Black Christmas. Do you like it? Don't you like it? Let's have a great, healthy conversation of Black Christmas in those comments. And I also like to take the time, if you like this Black Christmas movie, that I would suggest check out the filmmakers Dave Mcrae and Bruce Dale. Dave Mcrae, he has his own channel. I'll put all that in the description below, everything you need to find. They did a fan film that continues the story of It's Me, Billy. That's out on YouTube. You can watch right now. They just wrapped up filming of the sequel to that, the conclusion of that story. They just dropped the teaser trailer. I'll put all that in the description. So if you're a big Black Christmas fan, they have done marvelous things with this franchise. It is the true sequel to this franchise and not those terrible versions that we got. What Dave and Bruce have been doing with Black Christmas is just amazing. So I highly suggest you check Dave's channel out and, you know, check the new teaser trailer out for the sequel. Check the movie out. It's Me, Billy. Just doing wonderful things with this franchise. And as always, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, and share the videos. I do lots of, I do horror reviews, action reviews, sci-fi reviews, all sorts of movie reviews and rankings. Make sure you stick around for the end card. I'll put related content there so you go down the rabbit hole and check out the channel, have fun on the channel, all of that kind of stuff. I really appreciate you guys watching this review. I will see you next time. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema, where we talk movies of the past, and I will see you in the movies. Cheers.